We're back on SportsCenter with our newest segment, Biggest Offseason Objectives. Earlier, we focused on the Eastern Conference. Now we'll focus on the Canadian teams out west with Frankie Corrado, our NHL analyst. We're going to begin with a feel-good story. It's nice to have a few of these, right? Winnipeg brings Jonathan Toews back on a one-year deal. He's back in his hometown. He's hanging out at Earl's on Main. He's at St. Boniface. He's hanging at the Forks. Everybody's happy. What do you think of the move, Frank?
It's a really smart deal for both sides. Like, if you start with the Jonathan Toews angle, he gets the familiarity of playing at home in Winnipeg and everything that entails, being around family. Like, there's something special about playing where you grew up.
Yep.
And for the Jets, like, now all these guys that are kind of on a mission here to keep pushing further and further in the playoffs, they get to rub shoulders with a guy who was a playoff monster in his prime, like an unbelievable captain, leader. So they'll get him, every day to see what the Jonathan Toews experience was like. And I would imagine if he's coming back and playing, he's got some game. Like, he's going to have some kind of game. We'll see what it looks like, but I think it's a very smart deal for both sides.
I love what Kevin Cheveldayoff said. He said it's not about how he plays at the beginning, it's how he looks at the very end.
And it's a lot of bonuses at the end of the day, right? Like, it's $2 million, and then you'll be happy to pay out those bonuses if it means you're going far in the playoffs.
Yeah, more than happy. And then for the Jets overall, what would you say their biggest objective is this offseason?
The biggest objective for the Jets is to not take a step back offensively. Like, that's where they really grew the most this season. They were a top 5 team in the NHL at goals per game. They had the best power play in the NHL. But now, like, if Nikolai Ehlers is moving on, you have to find a way to replace that kind of offense, whether it's internally or externally. But you do have to be a little bit careful here with how much you're going to spend on July 1st, because if you over-leverage yourself on July 1st, well, you have to sign Velarde and you have to sign Sandberg. And both those guys you would like to have be long-term pieces there. So you have to be smart with what you're going to spend. Maybe a guy like Brad Lambert takes another step and he fills in. If you look externally, I find one name a little bit fascinating. It would be Andrei Kuzmenko, who, when he was a rookie in the league, just scored under 40 goals. It worked really well for him in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is a really good defensive team. So I think in that situation, he would be well insulated on a Jets team that is, we know what their foundation is. It's great defensive hockey. A guy like that who's one-dimensional, it might work for them. But like I said, you can't over-leverage yourself, because you have to take care of those RFAs, because they're two really good players that I think a lot of teams would like.
The Vancouver Canucks hired a great defenseman as their new head coach, Adam Foote. The question is, what are the objectives for this team this offseason? Because I, frankly, cannot figure this out.
I think there's so many objectives. Let's just go with the simplest form of what the objective should be. Keep your captain happy. Like, find a way to keep Quinn Hughes happy at all costs. And I think some of that is going to come down to the players. Like, if Elias Pettersson can find what he is supposed to be, then that should keep the captain happy. If your goaltender, Thatcher Demko, is healthy and able to play, and I would say that if he is healthy, he's likely going to be one of the better goalies in the league. Like, that's just what he is and what he has been. But if that happens, then chances are your captain's happy. I think there's just a lot that is out of their control at this point. As much as, yes, they need another center iceman. I think they've done a good job of building their back end up. But the number one objective, and I don't know how this happens, it's kind of up in the air, just keep the captain happy for now.
It's going to be all the talk in Vancouver in this entire season. Quinn Hughes. It's interesting because it's not Connor McDavid, but the Calgary Flames do have an upcoming UFA that they could extend this offseason. That's Rasmus Andersson. That's a big part of that team. He's a veteran. He's a leader. They love him there. Do you keep him, or do you maybe move on from him, Frank?
I think, like, ultimately, I would like to have that defenseman, because I look at it this way. Like, if I could have one of Rasmus Andersson or Mackenzie Weegar on the ice for 2/3 of the game, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. And they were a good defensive team. Of course, Dustin Wolf helps with that. But there's no doubt the main objective for the Calgary Flames is to score more next season. Like, similar to the Ottawa Senators, where they don't score. They're a bottom 5 team in the NHL at scoring goals. So they They have to find a way to produce some offense, and I think that comes with players that are more offensively inclined. If J.J. Peterka is available, that's a guy that you have to try and go after. If someone like Granlund becomes available, well, we know he is. He's an unrestricted free agent. If you can bring a guy like that in, or a guy like Brock Besser, who is a pure goal scorer, like that's what I think the Calgary Flames have to look for. Someone who is an offensively inclined player, who is a goal scorer, who can help that team. And it's not just one guy who pushes things along, but one guy can certainly help in that regard, because that's the biggest thing that held them back last year. They just can't. It doesn't come naturally to that team scoring goals.
It feels like, as we're doing both these segments, that Brock Besser's number is going up by the second.
It feels like it. Like he's not a true 40 goal scorer consistently, but he has scored 40. He's like a 30. That's where he is.
And like you said, if you need offense, he's going to provide that for you instantly. As for the Oilers, we've talked about them so much in the past week. They might or look to be bringing back Trent Frederick. That seems like a nice move. What else do you want to see from this team in the offseason?
I mean, it has to be the goaltending.
Yeah.
Given the way things have gone the last couple of years, and we'll say this, it's not that goaltending lost them the Stanley Cup, but you've gone into situations now where you haven't had the save at the right time in the big moment. And I'm not saying that someone else is going to do it, but someone else might give you a better chance of doing it, or at least create less uncertainty in the crease. And this is the year and the time to get John Gibson. All we heard was, well, the contract. Well, the contract has this year plus one more on it now. Like it is way more digestible than it ever has been. Not to mention in Anaheim, like Lucas Dostal, the starter there now, if you want to call it that, like he's going to take up more of the crease. So a guy like John Gibson, like maybe gets to the point where he looks at it and says, all right, I'm ready to have my own crease, and I'm going to go to a situation in Edmonton where there's two guys that are really hungry to win, a team that's hungry to win, and just feel rejuvenated by the whole thing. I think if he stays healthy, which he should be able to or could be able to, like that seems like a no-brainer at this point.
Yeah, it seems like the one guy, because, as we've talked about free agency, Jake Allen, probably the best available guy in free agency. That's probably not a massive upgrade over Skinner.
Yeah,
and Pickard,
there's no UFA goalie that's really a needle mover.
Yeah.
If you were going to do the Jake Allen thing, it's like, well, you're going Allen Skinner.
Yeah.
And you're doing the tandem thing. I feel like, Gibson, prior to the last few years where Anaheim just felt like they weren't playing meaningful hockey, was really solid goaltender.
Absolutely. Yeah, has a contract to prove it. Frankie, this is great. We should just do this all week. Just keep doing it over and over. No, we got to wait for like 8 or 9 days for free agent frenzy. Are you excited?
We start at 11?
Yeah. You got to be
great.
here early, my friend.
No, 11's good.
You're happy with that?
Yeah, like 11.
Oh, because you're thinking like Trade Center. You start at like 8 in the morning.
8 on Trade Center.
Yeah, that's
insane.
insane.
This is easy.
Well, and plus you're going to get food from Harvey's, because it's all presented by Harvey.